So good morning, good afternoon. Thank you everyone for coming back and joining us for day 3 of the Fanshawe Care series. Today we have Lucia here and Greg, and they're going to talk to us about your Fanshawe online supports and how to navigate that. So I will hand it over to them, and if everyone can still remain muted today, and we'll have time at the end for questions. Thank you. Welcome, Greg. Welcome, Lucia.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Lucy, and I'm here today with my coworker Greg Tenomy, who is going to be delivering this presentation on how to use Fanshawe Online. Fanshawe Online is the learning data management of the college, where all your courses and all your assignments, everything is going to be there. So with further ado, here is Greg.
Thank you. So we will start. I'll start by sharing my screen here, and we will cover everything that you need to know about Fanshawe Online. If you do have questions as you see something, please feel free to type it in the chat, and Lucy will answer it, or she'll let me know and I'll address it. But again, please keep yourself mute as we go through, just to help everyone be able to hear the session. So you'll also notice that Lucy will be putting in some links in the chat as we go through as well. So keep an eye out for that. So first we'll talk about logging into Fanshawe Online, or also sometimes known as FOL for short. So to log into Fanshawe Online, you'll go to www.fanshaweonline.ca, and Lucy will place that link in the chat. And once you go to that website, you'll be brought to our Fanshawe College login page. Now this is where you'll be logging into Fanshawe Online. The username and password that you use here are the same password that you'll use for other Fanshawe systems as well. And you'll notice that it's asking us to sign in. It's asking us to type in our Fanshawe Online email. So what our Fanshawe Online email is our Fanshawe College username at fanshaweonline.ca. And so you'll notice here that there's this little hint at the bottom here that gives you a tip. So you can see student login format is username at fanshaweonline.ca. So for today's example, I'll be logging in as one of my favorite Star Wars characters, Darth Vader. So Darth Vader's username is D_Vader. So let's type in D_Vader. And then following the format, so his Fanshawe Online email will be at fanshaweonline.ca. Once I've typed in my Fanshawe email, I'll click on the next button, and then I'd be typing in my Fanshawe College password. Once we do that, we'll be signed into Fanshawe Online. So this is our main landing page. This is our Fanshawe Online. My home page is also another way that we refer to it. And we'll talk about some of the different elements on this page. So you'll notice first in the upper left-hand corner, we have a Fanshawe Online logo. And as I hover over, it says My Home. So what this means is that if we go through some of the different tools here, if we want to go back to the Fanshawe Online My Home page, which is what we see here right now, all we have to do is simply click the My Home button, and it will bring us back to this particular page. So we'll go into some other tools, and I'll show you how that works again a little bit later. But essentially, if you ever want to get back to this particular home page, just click on the Fanshawe logo, and it will bring you back to the My Home page of Fanshawe Online. You'll notice that we also have an announcements widget here. So this is this announcement widget right here in the center of the screen. This is where we post important information on Fanshawe Online. Typically, the information is related more towards your academics. So you'll find information here about, if you can see here, we have the exam schedule, if there's important updates coming to Fanshawe Online, or anything that's related to your academics, you will see that here. You won't really see any events related to events happening on campus, so more social events. So you won't find out about our pub nights or any of our other types of events that they have on campus, or how our sports teams are doing. Those are usually on our other social media channels. This is primarily related to your academics or related to anything that's academically important at the college. So that's our announcements widget. So you'll notice that there is this current announcement here for the winter exam schedule. And you'll notice that there's this little X icon here on the right-hand side. And so let's say that I've read this message and I no longer need to see it. I can click on this little X icon, which will dismiss the announcement. So now you can see that it's disappeared from my view. However, if I do need to go see that message again, what I can do is I can go into the announcements tool by clicking on the announcements heading. And when I click on the announcements heading, you'll see it brings me into the announcements tool. There's that announcement. You'll see it says dismissed in brackets because we clicked on that little X icon. And if we do want to bring that message back to the My Home page, all we have to do is click on the little drop down arrow here and click on Restore. you'll see the word dismissed has disappeared. And now if we go back to our My Home page by clicking on the Fanshawe Online logo, we'll see that our announcement has been restored. So just really quickly again, if I dismiss an icon or I dismiss an announcement by clicking on the dismiss icon, I can go into the announcements tool and restore it from there. So that's our announcements area. The next tool that we'll talk about is Fanshawe Online Email. Now you're going to notice that we have a widget here that says FOL email is changing on May 1st. So right now, if you were a student in the winter term in January intake, you'd be using our existing Fanshawe Online email system that's built into Fanshawe Online. However, on May 1st, which is right before you'll be coming to Fanshawe, we are changing it to use Outlook 365. So I have an example so I can show you what that's going to look like. But essentially, we are moving away from the Fanshawe Online email system to Outlook 365 just to help improve and enhance the student experience with using the email platform. One of the features that students have always asked about is being able to access their Fanshawe Online email on their phone, which previously wasn't available with our existing email system, but that is one of the exciting new changes with the new Outlook 360 email that we're going to have. So if I just pull over an example on my page here. So this is a different site here. This is just our sandbox site because we were testing the new email system. But as you can see here, I'm logged into Fanshawe Online. And instead of using the email icon here, because you notice if I click on my email icon, it only allows me to send emails from Fanshawe Online. So Fanshawe Online will become a send-only environment. So you can send emails from Fanshawe Online out. But when you receive emails, so if anyone sends an email to you, to your @fanshaweonline.ca email address, you'll notice that we have a link here for Outlook 365 email. And once you click on that, it will bring you to your Outlook inbox. And this is where you'll receive all of your Fanshawe Online emails. So you can see it is the standard interface for Outlook. So if you're familiar with this email system, it's the exact same, but it is a much better system than what we currently have in our Fanshawe Online system. So this is where you'll be receiving all of your Fanshawe Online emails. And again, that's something that you can see once we move over on May 1st. So by the time you're here as Fanshawe students, you'll see that we'll have the new Outlook 365 email link available, and that's how you'll be able to access your email. So just something to be aware of when you come on for the summer term is you will have that new email. Your email address will remain the same though. You will still have your username at fanshaweonline.ca. The next area that we'll talk about is some of these other navigational icons. So we talked about the email icon here, which will be how you can send out emails. But we also have the subscription alerts icon here. So you'll see that these little two speech bubbles here, if I hover over, it says subscription alerts. And what this is it's related to a tool called discussions that we have in our courses. So a professor could set up a discussion forum, and usually when it's the first week of class, a popular one that professors like to use is introduce yourself to the class and have that as a discussion forum. So let's say a professor says introduce yourself to the class and say one interesting thing about yourself. So I post that into the discussion, and when I do that, there's an option for me to subscribe to my discussion post. And what that does is that when someone comments on my discussion, I'll receive a subscription alert listed here. So you can think of it as how it works in social media. If you make a post on a social media platform and someone comments on your post and you get that little notification saying there's one new post or one new comment on your post, that's a very similar concept applied here with our discussions. Beside that, we also have something called update alerts, and it's represented by this bell icon with this, and you can see I have a little orange dot here. And what the orange dot means that there's something new for me to see. So if there's a new subscription alert or a new update for you to view, a little orange dot will appear over the icon. And then if we want to view those updates, we just click on the dot, and then we can see the information here. So looking at this, we can quickly see here that we have some upcoming due dates and end dates. So we can see that the announcement was posted, but we also have a quiz ending soon on March 28th. And we also have an assignment due on March 31st. So it just helps keep you in the loop of when there's updates or changes occurring on Fanshawe Online. So it's just a nice idea to help take a look at the icon here when there's something new. So those are our icons here. You'll notice that we also have these 9 little squares. And if I hover over this, this is where it says select a course. So this is how we can access our courses within Fanshawe Online. You'll also notice if I scroll down to the bottom here, we have a My Courses widget that also has my courses listed. Now it doesn't matter if I access the courses from the My Courses or the course selector or from the My Courses widget. They both bring you to the exact same spot. One is more of a visual view, so you can see this is a visual view of our courses, whereas this is more of a list view of our courses. So what I'll do is I'm going to access one of my courses by clicking on the course name, and it will bring me into the course. Now I will mention that your courses won't show up in your Fanshawe Online just yet. When you're about a day or two before your class starts, that's when you should expect to see your courses to appear in Fanshawe Online, or sometimes they won't even appear until the day of your class starts. So by the time your class starts, that's when you should see it in your Fanshawe Online. You might see it a day or two early, but not always the case. But definitely right now you won't see those courses. So as you can see, we've accessed our course here, and you'll notice that our Fanshawe Online logo has changed to just this Fanshawe North Star icon. But when I hover over it, it still says My Home. So if I want to go back to the My Home page, I simply click on the My Home button, and it will bring me back to that particular landing page. Now to go back into the course, I'll use the My Courses widget just to show you that it brings you to the exact same spot. So again, I'll click on that same course, this time through the My Courses widget, and you'll notice that it brings us into the same course. Now beside our My Home button, you'll also notice that the course code is listed here, and this is so that we know which course that we're currently accessing, so we can see what the course code is here. And then as we navigate into some of the different tools here, if we want to go back to the course homepage, all we have to do is click on the course code listed here, and that will bring us back to this particular page. You'll also notice that we do have an announcement widget here within the course. Now this announcement widget is only related to this specific course, so students only enrolled in this course will see these announcements, and they are posted by the professor. Now I would encourage you to review announcements that are posted within courses, because this is where professors will sometimes post important information about the course. So I would highly recommend reviewing those announcements that get posted here. On the right hand side, you'll also notice that there is a professor information widget, and this is where you'll be able to see who the professor is of your course. So you'll see in their name, office hours, and their email address. Now there is the odd occasion that this might not be filled in. The professor just hadn't had a chance to get to it yet, so I'm going to show you another area in a few minutes within the Fanshawe Online course where you can also find out who your professor is, and I'll show you how you can email them. So just something that we'll talk about in a few moments when we talk about the class list tool. But for now, for the most part, you should hopefully have this information already populated by the time you access your course. Underneath that, you'll notice that we have a calendar widget. And this is where it will show us upcoming due dates and end dates for assignments and quizzes or events within the course. Now, you can see that we do just have this little short summary of upcoming events, but we can go into the calendar tool by clicking on the calendar heading, and this will bring us to a full view of our calendar. Now, something that's important to note is that the calendar here within Fanshawe Online does not pull your class timetable. So this will not show me that I have class in B1020 from 10 to 11. That information is only housed in WebAdvisor, which contains your timetables. So this only contains information related to Fanshawe Online. So upcoming due dates and end dates for assignments and quizzes within Fanshawe Online is what you typically will see populated here. So we can see we have a few different items here. They're also color coded by course. So if I had events occurring in other courses, I would see those items listed with the appropriate colors. And then I can really even click on some of these items to view more information about it. In the lower right hand corner, we also have a task area, and this is a area just for you. So if you wanted to create a to-do list, you can type that in here. So let's say that my goal for tonight is to start working on a draft version of one of my projects. I can say, start draft for graphic design, of course. We'll add that as a task, and then we can see that we have it listed here. And then once we've completed a task, all we have to do is place a check mark beside it, and you'll see it automatically disappears. We do have the ability to view any past completed tasks by clicking on the View Completed Tasks button, and this will show us all the tasks we completed and the date that we marked it as complete. So again, that is just a nice little helpful area. It's only visible to you, so your professors and your classmates do not see that section there. Now, while we're talking about the calendar, we also like to talk about one of the apps that we have available for Fanshawe Online, and it's called the Brightspace Pulse app. And Lucy will be posting in the chat shortly some more information about this link. So, Brightspace Pulse is available for both Apple and Android devices. So if you have an Android phone or an Android tablet or an iPhone or iPad, you are able to use the Brightspace Pulse app. So again, Lucy will be posting that information shortly in the chat, so you will see that shortly. But again, it is available through the App Store. Now, something that's important to note is that you'll notice it's published by D2L Corporation. So it's not published by Fanshawe College, it is published by D2L Corporation, which is the company that created Fanshawe Online. So again, here's the Android page, and then here's the Apple App Store, so you can see it is available for both platforms. Now, just some of the different features that it offers you. The first feature is that it gives you the ability to view your grades. Now, the nice thing about this as well is it also will give you notifications once a grade has been made available. And this is a feature I really wish was available when I was a student, because I was always sitting on the grades page, refreshing, hoping that my grades would be posted. But with the Brightspace Pulse app, as soon as a grade is posted in your course, you'll receive a notification letting you know that a grade has been made available. So it is just a nice way to see your grades at a glance on your phone. The other features that we have on here as well is we have the ability to view content as well as view it offline. So let's say that I don't have a great internet connection, or maybe I have Wi-Fi at home or at the college, but maybe I don't have a internet plan on my phone in general. What I can do with this is I can save my content offline through the Brightspace Pulse app. And then when I'm on the go, maybe I'm on the bus heading to class, I can review some of the content on my way there, or just view it really in any area that I don't have an internet connection. So it is nice to be able to view your content, but also the ability to store it offline when you're on the go. When we talked about the discussions, when we were talking about the subscription tool, within the Pulse app, you also have the ability to reply to discussions. So you can see that a professor had posted here something about poetry terms, and you can see here that there's this add comment button here at the bottom. So if we wanted to comment on this particular discussion, we could tap the add comment button and really comment on that discussion post. We also have the ability to view notifications. So as we had seen with the notifications button within Fanshawe Online, when we saw upcoming due dates and end dates for assignments and quizzes, and also the announcements posted, you also can see those updates listed here in the notifications area of the Pulse app. Finally, we also have this nice view here of the calendar. So this is the same information that's shown within Fanshawe Online. So this will not show you your timetable or time schedule for your classes. This will only pull information from Fanshawe Online. So if we have upcoming due dates and assignments in our courses, they will be listed here, but we also get this nice graphical interface to show us what days we're busier on and which days that we maybe have some more free time. So if I quickly look at this graph here, I can quickly see that, on Thursday, I have a bit of work to do. So, maybe that will be the day I really work on getting these items done. But then on Saturday, the 18th, we can see that the graph goes down. So we know maybe that's the day we catch up on some of our other homework. Maybe that's the time we set up a time to meet with friends. Just a way to help you visually gauge what your week looks like. So those are some of the features of the Brightspace Pulse app. It is a free download, again, available for Apple and Android devices, and it's published by D2L Corporation. Going back into Fanshawe Online, we'll go back to our course homepage, and to do that, we'll click on our course code, and that will bring us back to our main landing page here. The next tool that we will talk about is the content tool. So you'll notice that we have our navigation bar here. And within it, we have a few different drop downs here with some different tools, but we also have the content tool all by itself in the navigation bar. And we intentionally have that link all by itself because we found that students access content more than any other tool within Fanshawe Online. So we intentionally have content not in a drop down because we wanted it to be quick and easy for you to access. So once I click on the content, you'll see that it brings me into the content area of my course. Now, the first area that I want to draw your attention to is the course outline. So the course outline contains the course outline and course plan for your course, and it really has a lot of important information. So what it has is it contains information about the course description, course learning outcomes, essential employability skills, vocational learning outcomes, how you'll be evaluated, any of your textbook requirements, resources, college grading, college specific information, college policy. So there's a lot of important information here. So I always recommend reviewing the course outline for your course. After that, you'll see that we have a series of different content modules. Now you can think of these modules as folders because within each module is where you'll see the content for you to view. Now, depending on how your professor has your course set up, you might see this appear a little bit differently. Most of the time, I see professors break content up by week. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. But you could have the professor breaking up by unit. So maybe unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. Or maybe they break it up by the subject. So if there's a course about Microsoft Office, maybe you'd have a module for Microsoft Word, one for PowerPoint, one for Excel. It really depends on how the professor decides to deliver the content. Again, most of the time I do see professors breaking the content up by week. So we'll click on the week 1 module or folder, and you can see within here there's a series of different items for us to view. Now, you'll notice that on the right-hand side, there's also a series of check marks and a couple of dots. This is just letting me know that I've already viewed these 4 content items, but I still need to view or complete these last 2. So it's just a way to help me keep on track to make sure I don't accidentally miss viewing any of these content items. We also have this nice bar graph here, so we can see that we've completed 4 of the 6 items, or 66%. Just again, give us a visual indicator that there is more for us to view, just so that we don't accidentally miss any of this content. Now, when we want to look at one of these items here, we can just click on the content item name, and it will load that item. So you can see here's our introduction that a professor has posted, and then what we do is we'd go through and read the professor's information here. Now, one of the handy features of Fanshawe Online is you'll notice that we have this listen button in the upper left-hand corner. And what this does is it will actually read the content out loud for you. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear it because it's coming out of my computer speakers, but what it will do is you'll see it highlight the text, and what it'll do is it will read it out loud to me as it's playing it. So I'm going to click on the little play button here, and you'll see that it highlights the text and reads it out loud to me.
Banner. Weekly introduction. Populate this area with an overview of what.
So you can see as we were going through here, it was highlighting the text and it was reading it out loud to me as it was going through the content. Now, after I've finished viewing this page here, I can either go back to the week 1 module or folder by clicking on week 1, or if I know that I want to move on to the next content item, I just have to click on the next arrow and that would bring me to the next content item. So I'll just click on the next button here and you'll see that it brings me into the next content item. Now, something else that I'll mention about that reader option is you can also have it read selected paragraphs of text. So if I only wanted this paragraph of text read out loud to me, I can highlight that text and click on the listen button, and then it will only read that paragraph of text out loud to me. Now, after we viewed this particular page here and we're ready to move on to the next content item, we'll click on the next arrow and then we'll view the next content item. Now, something else that Fanshawe Online does is it allows you to view documents, PowerPoints, PDFs, all within Fanshawe Online. So let's say that the professor was doing a lecture and they had a PowerPoint presentation. And then afterwards, they posted that presentation to Fanshawe Online. What you see is that once they've uploaded that PowerPoint, instead of me having to download the PowerPoint to view it, I can actually view that PowerPoint presentation directly within Fanshawe Online without having to save it to my computer. Now, we do have the ability to save the PowerPoints to our computer or documents by clicking on the download button. So that is available here in the upper right corner, but you also, again, can view that information all within Fanshawe Online. Now, something that I do see students sometimes doing is sometimes students will click on the View as Text button by mistake. And what that does is if I click on View as Text, it's going to remove all the background images and formatting of the document, but it also makes it a little bit harder to read. So I'm going to click on View as Text for a moment here, and you're going to see it's going to take a second, but all of a sudden you'll see the background is removed, and now it's a little bit harder to see because now there's text overlapping each other. So it removes a lot of the formatting of the PowerPoint. So if you ever click on that View as Text by mistake, all you have to do is click on the View as Page button in the lower left-hand corner, and then it will automatically change back to the visual view again. So again, if you ever click on View as Text by mistake, and it's appearing a little bit strange with the formatting a little different, all you have to do is click on the View as Page button in the lower left-hand corner, and that will restore the view of your page. So we'll now move on to the next item here. So while we're talking about PowerPoint, we do like to talk about the software that's available to you as Fanshawe College students. So as Fanshawe College students, you do have access to Microsoft Office, including Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. There's also other software, including Visual Studio, Visio, Project, Adobe, Autodesk, so AutoCAD, or Windows 10 and 11. Depending on the program that you're taking, you might need some of this other software. But for today, we are concentrating on the Microsoft 365 Office Suite. Now, Lucy will be posting in the chat a link to this software, as well as some instructions on how you can download the software. So what we'll do is we'll click on Microsoft 365, and you'll see that it does have some information here. So we have some instructions, and then we can view the software that's going to be available. So we, again, have access to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and even Visio. So to access Microsoft Office, you would click on the Microsoft sign in. You would log in with your Fanshawe Online email. So that's your username at fanshaweonline.ca. You would use your same Fanshawe password that you use for WebAdvisor and Fanshawe Online. And then once you're on that page here in the upper right-hand corner, you have the ability to install Microsoft Office. So this is available to both to put on your personal computers, so you can install it on your laptops or desktops if you have a desktop computer at home. So that's our Microsoft Office suite. Now we'll go back to Fanshawe Online, and we'll click on our course code again to go back to the main page
Greg,
here.
one
Yes.
1 second, please. I just
Sure.
noticed because it's a lot of chat that is coming, nothing related to Fanshawe Online. So I have one student, Elizabeth, is saying when she log out, she's something about the authenticator. I don't know if you can mention a little bit. The students need to download the authenticator in order to get access to Fanshawe Online.
For sure. So
Yeah.
a lot of our Fanshawe College systems require multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And so with that, we require really a second way to authenticate you when you're logging into our Fanshawe system. So what we use is something called the Microsoft Authenticator app. And so when you first log into Fanshawe Online, it will ask you to set that up. And so what you'd want to do is on your mobile device, whether it's a phone or a tablet, you'd want to download the Microsoft Authenticator app. And with that, you would be able to set it up so that when you try to log into Fanshawe Online, your Authenticator app will send you a number. And then what you do is you type that number into Fanshawe Online when you're logging in, and then that will authenticate you into the system. So it is something just to ensure that we have enhanced security. It's not just with Fanshawe Online, it is with our other Fanshawe systems as well, but it is something to be aware of with Fanshawe Online. So it is, again, the Microsoft Authenticator app that we use here at Fanshawe to really give that multi-factor authentication to ensure that your accounts remain secure. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you, Greg. I hope so too.
Perfect, thank you. So the next tool that we're going to take a look at is the communications dropdown, and we're going to look at the class list tool. So this is where we can see our fellow classmates in our class, as well as who the professor is in the course. So we can see here that we have a few people in our course. Most likely you're going to see a few more people than this, but this is one of my test courses, which is why we only have a few people in the course. But we can see again, we have our professor here, and then we have our classmates. Now, if we wanted to quickly see who the professor is in our course, so let's say we have a bigger class list here, we can see who the professor is by clicking on the Staff tab, and that will filter and show us just who the professor is in the course. If we want to just see our classmates, we can click on the Student tab, and this will just show all of our classmates in the course. So I'll go back to the All tab here and bring us back to the class list page. And let's say that we wanted to send an email to our professor. Now this is still the same even after our May 1st change with Outlook 365. You will still be able to do this. If you want to send an email to your professor, you can do that really easily through Fanshawe Online by clicking on your professor's name. And what that will do is it will open up an email window here. You can type in your message to your professor and click on send, and then your professor will receive your email message. Now you also have the ability to send your an email to multiple people within your class. So let's say I wanted to send an email to Pikachu and Superman. All I have to do is place check marks beside both of their names here. We can click on the email icon here, and you'll see that now both of their emails have been added to the recipient list, and then I can send a message to them both as well. So it is really handy to be able to send those messages within the class list tool. Again, you can either click on the person's name, so you click on your professor's name or your classmate's name, or you can place check marks beside who you want to send an email to, and then click on the email button. So just a couple ways of how you can send emails through the class list tool. The next tool that we'll take a look at is the grades tool. So to access grades, you can click on the evaluations dropdown, and you can select grades from the list. So this is where you'll see the grades for your course. So you'll see that we've already received a couple grades. So we wrote quiz 1 and 2 already, and so we can see the grades that we've received for that. However, you'll notice that we have zeros for some of the other grades in this course. This is just because we haven't completed the quiz, midterm, final project, or final exam. So we're just seeing a 0 there because it's not something that we've completed yet. However, if you do have any concerns about your gradebook, please feel free to reach out to your professor and they'll be happy to discuss it with you. Now you'll notice beside quiz number 2, we have this little bar graph icon beside it. Excuse me. And what that means is it's the ability to view the statistics for this particular grade item. So if I click on the bar graph here, what we'll see is the class average for that particular grade item, and we can see how we did compared to the rest of our class. Now this is something that's only available if the professor enables it. So you'll see that for quiz number 2, the professor turned it on, but they didn't turn it on for any other item. Again, it's completely up to the professor. Sometimes they turn it on for all the grade items, sometimes they'll turn it on for a couple, or sometimes they don't turn it on for any. It is completely up to the professor whether or not that option is available. Now, something else you may see in the gradebook is the word dropped in red. Now, it's not something we see very often, but it is sometimes something that students will see, and we do commonly get asked questions about it, so that's why we like to talk about it in this session. So if you see the word dropped in red in your gradebook, it's actually a good thing. It's not something to be worried about. What it means is that the professor likely has a certain set number of grade items, and he's dropping the lowest one. So let's say, for example, that I'm taking a writing course and the professor says, okay, you're going to be writing 5 essays, but I'm only going to be taking the top 4 looking at your final grade. So what you'll see is the word dropped beside the lowest grade item of those 5 essays. So it is something, again, not usually used, but if you do see it and have questions about it, please feel free to reach out to your professor and they'll be happy to talk about it with you. So that's our grades tool. The next tool that we'll take a look at is the quizzing tool. So sometimes you'll be asked to take a quiz within Fanshawe Online. So you'll be able to do that by clicking on the evaluations dropdown and then by selecting the quizzes tool. Now, while we're in the quizzing tool, something that I really want to draw your attention to is the due date. So you'll notice that this quiz is due on March 28th at 11:59 p.m. So as the student here, I really want to make sure that I write this quiz before that due date, because once that quiz closes, I may not be able to write it again, or I may lose the opportunity to write it. So do be very mindful of those due dates, because they may be something that you want to be very mindful of it so you can write that quiz. Now you'll notice that for this particular quiz, we have it set to unlimited attempts, and that's just because this is one of my test courses. For the most part, you only are allowed 1 attempt. So as you can see here for our other example here, so you do want to make sure that that when you're submitting the attempt, that it is the quiz attempt that you're ready to submit. So once we're ready to write this quiz, we'll click on the quiz name. So we'll click on example quiz. And then we'll view the quiz details here. So we can see the current time. If there's any time limit set on the quiz, we can see that information here. Again, if there is one set, you do want to be mindful of the time, because you need to submit that quiz within that time period. We can see when the quiz is due, so April 28th at 11:59 p.m. And then we see how many attempts were allowed and any final instructions. Once we're ready to start the quiz, we can click on the Start Quiz button, and we'll be able to start the quiz. Now, it's important to note that once that quiz page loads, the timer does start for the quiz, so you do want to make sure that you write the quiz in that particular time window. because if I was just to close this window or to walk away, the timer will still count, and if there is a time limit on the quiz may automatically submit. So you do need to be mindful of the time that you have to write the quiz, and make sure that when you start the quiz, you are ready to complete it within that window. So we do have a few different questions here. So we have a true-false question. We have a matching question. So I'll go through and match these questions here, see how well I know my TV trivia. And 2. The nice thing about Fanshawe Online is you'll also notice that it automatically saves the answers as I select them. So you'll notice here that if I click around here really quickly, it says the word saving and then saved. So it is really nice that you don't need to click any save buttons as you're going through. It will automatically save it as you're going through the quiz. Now, after I've completed all the questions on this particular page, I can click on the next page button to move on to the next page of questions here. We'll go through and answer a few more questions here. And then once we're all finished, we can click the blue Submit Quiz button. Now you'll notice that there is this big red warning saying I accidentally missed question number 1. So just to make sure that I get the best grade possible, I'm going to go back and answer question number 1. So I'll go back, answer that particular question, make sure that I'm happy with my responses, and then I'll click the Submit Quiz button again. You'll notice that there isn't any other warnings, so we know that we're safe to submit, and really this is our last chance to make any changes to the quiz. Once we click that blue Submit Quiz button, our quiz will be submitted and we won't be able to make any changes. So I'm pretty happy with how we answered the questions here, so I'll click on the Submit Quiz button, and we've now completed our quiz. Now, most of the time, the only thing that you'll see on this page is your work has been saved and submitted, and then you'll see the details of when you completed it. Most of the time, professors don't release the correct answers because they want to make sure that everyone has completed the quiz before they release them. Now, because we wanted to show you what it looked like when professors released the correct answers, we do have the answers released here automatically. But again, most of the time, you'll only see this work has been submitted and saved page. So we can see that we answered the first question correctly. So we can see that we selected true, and that was correct, as indicated here by the check mark. We can see we did well for the matching and the true false, and there's even some feedback here on why that answer was true. And if we scroll down to the bottom, the last question I answered incorrectly, I selected New York City, but the correct answer was actually Philadelphia. So we can see that the correct answer was correct, or the correct answer is indicated here by the blue arrow, and then the answer I picked as New York City was wrong, as indicated by this red X. Once we've finished looking at the quiz attempt, we can click on the Done button, and we've now completed our quiz. Now, there is something else that I do want to mention here about Fanshawe Online, and you'll notice that for our second quiz here, there's a message that says Respondus Lockdown Browser required. And what this means is that in order to write this particular quiz, I need to use a tool called Respondus Lockdown Browser. And what that does is it locks me into the quiz so that I can't access other resources on my computer or on the internet while I write the quiz. So if you do see this message saying Respondus Lockdown Browser required, what it means is that you do need to download the software, which there is a link here that will be available to you to download it onto your computer. Once you download it, you'll be able to launch Respondus Lockdown Browser, and again, it will lock you into your quiz and will let you complete it, but it won't let you access other resources, so you can't access Word documents or you can't access Google while you're writing the quiz. Now, I will also share near the end of the session a link to our help documentation where you can find more information about Respondus Lockdown Browser. Again, it is something you can download on your personal computer, but it also is something that's available on all the lab computers at the college. So you are able to use this software on the Fanshawe College lab computers or the Library Learning Commons. So we'll go now to our next tool called the Submissions tool. So to access submissions, we can click on the Evaluations dropdown and select Submissions. So previously, long time ago, before Fanshawe Online, when you used to hand in assignments, you used to have to physically give them to your professor or put them into a mailbox. Now you do with Fanshawe Online, you can submit them through our digital submissions tool. So what this does is it allows you to hand in your assignments within Fanshawe Online. So just like the quizzes, we do want to be very mindful of the due date. So we can see that the assignment closes on March 31st. So we want to make sure that we hand in our file before this due date. Otherwise, if the submission page or the submission closes, we may not be able to access it, or it might be marked as late. So we do want to be very mindful of the due date for our assignment. Once we're ready to hand in our assignment, we can click on the assignment folder name. So we'll click on that link here. And this is where we're able to upload our assignment. Now you can see that we have the ability to add a file. So we can click on the add a file button, and then we can select where we want to upload our file from. So most of the time it's probably from the My Computer area. This is where I want to upload my file from. I can either drag a file into this area here, or I can click on the upload button and it allows me to browse my computer. So I will just select a file here. So I'll just select on this essay that I was working on. And then once I have it uploaded to this section here, I can click on the add button, and now it's going to be added to my submission. I also have the ability to record audio or video. So I can record an audio clip or a video clip if I wanted to include that with my submission. Finally, we also have a comments area here. So if there's any details you want to provide the professor, you can type those in here. It's not a required field whatsoever. So if you don't have any comments, you can leave that as blank. You don't need to type in your name or your student number or the date you're handing this in, because the Fanshawe Online will automatically compile all that information already. However, if there is anything that's important that will help the professor, you can type that in here. So I can just say I was assigned case study number 2. Okay. Once we're happy with this, we can click on the submit button. And once I click on submit, we'll receive a message here that says file submission successful, and then we'll see the details here. Now within Fanshawe Online email, again, this is where you'll be checking your Outlook inbox, but for now it is within our current email system. But you will receive an email message that says submission receipt. And with the submission receipt, you'll have all of those details of the assignment you just submitted. So it contains the submission ID, the date you submitted it, the course you submitted it to, and any files you submitted. This is your proof that you handed in your assignment. So you want to make sure you keep this email until the assignment has been graded, or at least until the end of the course, just to ensure that you have your proof. Now, there hasn't ever been an issue with the submissions tool, but if something ever were to happen, we would be able to look at this email and figure out what went wrong. So again, please keep your submission receipts until the assignment's been graded or until the end of the course. Now again, this is showing the email in our current old email system, but when you're here in May to start your classes, these email receipts will appear in your Outlook 365 inbox. Going back to the submissions tool, there is one other piece that I wanted to mention. So you'll notice that beside assignment number 2, we have this little icon here. And if I hover over that icon, it says turn it in enabled. What this means is that when I hand in my assignments to this particular submission folder, it's going to check to see if this work compares, how it compares to other student work. It checks to see how it compares to resources on the internet, and it also checks for AI usage. So for example, let's say that Lucy and I are in the same class together, and Lucy hands in the assignment, but she shares a copy of it with me. And then I decide to just take Lucy's name off and put my own name on it and submit it to this submission folder. What would happen is that Turnitin would notify the professor saying, this document that Greg submitted is very similar or identical to what Lucy submitted, and it'll show them what the similarities are. So it is just there to ensure that academic integrity is upheld, but it is something to be aware of with that feature. So again, if I hover over it, you can see that it has Turnitin enabled beside that particular submission folder. So just something to be aware of. The next tool that we're going to talk about is the virtual classrooms tool. So while you're here at Fanshawe, you may have some classes that are fully online, or you may have some classes that are partially online, where you have some in-class moments and then you have some sessions that are online. If this is the case, you may be using one of our virtual classroom tools. You'll notice that we have a drop down here that's called Media Tools, and under that we have 2 different tools. We have the Virtual Classroom tool, or sometimes called Bongo Virtual Classroom, and we also have the Zoom platform, which is what we're using right now. Both of these are really online classroom tools that the professor may use to facilitate the classes. Now, the professor will pick only one of these tools, and they will let you know which one they're using. So you don't need to guess which tool to access your online classes with. The professor will let you know. So we'll start with the Bongo Virtual Classroom. So let's say the professor says that we'll be using Virtual Classroom for these online classes. If that's the case, when I'm in my course here, what I would do is I would click on the Media Tools dropdown. I would click on virtual classroom, and then it will show me a list of the sessions. So some of these will be upcoming sessions, some of these are past sessions. So I can see that there's currently a class running from today, March 26th. It started at 9:13 this morning, and it's currently running. So I can join this virtual class by clicking on the Enter Meeting button. Once I enter the meeting, you'll see that we hit this little dashboard page here, and it just shows us some information. So again, the date and time, and then we can join it once we're ready by clicking on the Join button, and this will bring us into the Bongo Virtual Classroom. Now, the really nice piece about Bongo Virtual Classroom is that it doesn't require you to download any special software. It works directly within your web browser. So you can see I didn't have to download anything. It's just still using my web browser here. Now it's first asking me how I'd like to join the audio. If I'd like to participate in class or ask questions, I'll likely want to pick the microphone button. When I click on microphone, there will be a little pop-up in the upper left-hand corner just saying, hey, the browser wants to use your microphone. Do you want to allow this? So we'll click on allow. So again, I'll click on microphone here. You'll see the allow message here just saying, are you sure you want to do this? I'll say allow. And now if I had any questions in the class, I'll be able to mute and unmute myself just like I can in the Zoom session today to ask a question. So again, there's the mute button, unmute button. I can also share my webcam, which I can't share it twice because I'm already sharing it right now in our Zoom session. But if I wanted to share my webcam like I am with you right now, I could click on share webcam and then I would appear in the virtual classroom. In the center of the screen here, this is where the whiteboard is. So professors could be writing on the board here. They could be sharing a presentation, or they could even be sharing their entire computer screen like I am doing with you here today. That will all appear here in the center of the screen. In the upper left-hand corner, we also have the participants window. So just like how we have participants in the Zoom session here today. So this is how I can see who is in our class. If I wanted to send a private message to the professor, I can click on the professor's name and click on Start a Private Chat. And any messages I send here will only be seen by the professor. So it is a private message and not visible to anyone else in the class. Once I've finished with the participant panel, I can close that by just clicking on the little arrow here. And we also have access to the public chat. So just like how we're using public chat here today, so that when we send messages and everyone can see them, we can also use the public chat here in the Bongo Virtual Classroom, and everyone in the session will see that message. Now I'll close that panel here and we'll look now on the right-hand side. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice that we have this little internet status symbol. Right now you can see it's green and showing me that I have a decent internet connection. I can also download my internet speed or test my internet download speed if I'm interested in seeing that number. Now, if you see this icon as yellow or orange or red, what that means is that your internet connection is either weak or unstable. And if that is the case, what I'd recommend is trying to get your device as close as possible to your internet router, or if you have the ability to plug in an internet cable, like an Ethernet cable, to connect to the internet, that will also help improve your internet connection and ultimately improve your experience with the Bongo Virtual Classroom. So just something to be aware of if you do see that in the upper right-hand corner. Now, once we've finished with our session and we're ready to leave, we can click on the three dots here in the upper right-hand corner, and we can click on the leave button. It'll just ask us to confirm that we're ready to leave. So I'll say leave meeting, and we've now left the virtual classroom. Now, it is up to the professor whether or not those classes are recorded. If the professor does decide to record the session, you will have the ability to view that recording within the area here. But again, it is up to the professor if it's recorded. So it may not be recorded again, but reach out to your professor if you have any questions. Now, let's say that professors say that they're going to be using Zoom for your classes. To access Zoom for your courses, we would click on the Media Tools dropdown, and we'd select the Zoom tool. Now with this, if there were any upcoming Zoom sessions, we would see them listed here. Or if the professor recorded any of the Zoom sessions, they would be able to click on the Cloud Recordings area, and we'd be able to view any of the recordings here. So unfortunately, I'm not able to launch a Zoom in this session because we are currently using Zoom, so I can't launch a Zoom within a Zoom. But the experience you're seeing here today, where you're able to see me, you're able to see my screen, you're able to use the chat, all those same features are what you would experience in your classes if your professor was to use Zoom for the online portion of it. So again, those are our two virtual classroom tools, our virtual classroom by Bongo and the Zoom platform. Now, again, it is the professor will let you know which tool they're going to be using, so you don't need to do any guessing. And if there is any questions, reach out to your professor and they'll be happy to help you. Now, one of the last pieces I want to leave you with is our help documentation. So you do have access to Fanshawe Online help on any or on every page of Fanshawe Online. So if you click on the help drop down here, you'll notice that we have a link that says Fanshawe Online Help. And when you click on this link, it will bring you to our help documentation, and you'll see that we have a few different links here across the top. So if I click on the first one here, Fanshawe Online, you'll see that it has a list of all of our different tools that we have available. And let's say that you're interested in learning more about the grades tool, for example. If we click on grades here, we can see we have more information about it, and we can view anything listed here. Now, I also mentioned previously Respondus Lockdown Browser for the quizzing tool. So if you do have questions about Respondus Lockdown Browser, or if you want to download it in advance, you can click on the Respondus Lockdown Browser link here. And we have lots of information as well as a download link available to you. So it is our help documentation. I'd highly recommend taking a look at it because it does contain lots of important information for the Fanshawe Online system. The very last piece that I want to mention to you is logging out of Fanshawe Online. So whenever you're finished with Fanshawe Online, please make sure you log out by clicking on your name, selecting the logout button, and then closing your browser window. You want to make sure you log out, especially if you're using a lab computer or a public computer. Just like you'd log out of your email or your social media accounts, please make sure you log out of your Fanshawe Online just to ensure that your information remains secure. Now with that, that is really our overview of Fanshawe Online, and we do have a little bit of time left here at the end. So if there are any outstanding questions about Fanshawe Online, please feel free to ask them now. I know Lucy also has some information to share about our FOL Ambassador email, so I'll turn it over to her to mention that as well.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Well, I see only the questions you already have answered. I put the links, and also I will put our email if they have any questions. It's going to be more sessions about this, how to use Fanshawe Online. And also because you guys are first-year students, they are a May intake, so we will have also more of these presentations coming up. So please do not feel like overwhelmed. It's too much information. We are here to support you. So if you have any questions, please email us, and we will be more happy to help. To you, Krista.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for joining us today. This session is always so helpful, and it's such a thorough walkthrough that I think it really does make a difference for the students that are going to have to use the platform for the first time. So thank you. And yes, as Lucia said, there will also be other sessions that they offer. So you can pop into those as well if you have questions. We're also going to send out a copy of this recording to everybody that was in the session and everybody coming in. So you can also go back and refer to that as well. So thank you everyone for your great questions and for joining us today. And thank you to our presenters.
Hello, excuse me. I want to ask about what about the previous sessions? Can we get the recordings of previous sessions?
Yeah, they should be sent to your email. Yeah, if you didn't get them, send us an email to fanshawecares@fanshawec.ca and we'll send them out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. And then we will see you back tomorrow for our housing tips and tricks session. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your night, depending on where you are. Thank you. Bye, everyone.